No,
We're live.
We're live. Okay. Oh, welcome back to the House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. We're continuing our discussions on the budget adjustment, and so we want to welcome Tom Kennedy to the discussion.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. For the record, my name is Tom Kennedy, and I'm the Director of Community Development for the Montescutney Regional Commission. It is my understanding that you would like me to talk about the House Appropriations request to raise the caps for assessment and for cleanup from the present amount of $50,000 for assessment per site and $200,000 for remediation per site to $200,000 per site for assessment and $500,000 for cleanup. Do I have that right?
I'm not aware of discussions about the assessment caps, but I am aware of raising the supported, removing the notwithstanding language and increasing that to the same level as what the EPA has raised their level to 500,000, and to also change the language that says grants per parcel to grants per site. So it has consistency with other places in the statute.
So, okay, so I apologize for the confusion. Just for edification, the EPA also has the 200,000 per parcel for assessment, as well as the 500 for cleanup. So we are in agreement to we agree with removing the notwithstanding and raising the caps. We certainly would support that as regional planning commissions.
Okay, reasons for that, Tom?
So as far as I just want to, I'm a little bit confused. So just so I understand, Mr. Chair, what we're talking about here. So we want to put back the notwithstanding language, and then we would like to raise the caps on the per parcel for whether it's for assessment or for cleanup. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Well, I haven't heard anything about the assessment. The only thing that was discussed was raising the $200,000 per parcel to 500,000
for cleanup.
Right.
And therefore the present amount, which is in statute of $50,000 per parcel, would remain.
I haven't heard anyone have that discussion or mention that yet. So
okay, so that's fine because we're going to be bringing that up later on in the session anyway. So if we're going to just okay, thank you for the clarification. So cleanup costs, like everything else, have increased dramatically, and at $200,000, it's just such a small amount of money. What ends up happening is we have this iterative process for cleaning up parcels, and so we're going from year to year, or you end up having just state funds at $200,000. Then we're looking to the private sector to pick up the balance of that, and it just doesn't work. There's just not much appetite in the private sector who want to redevelop these sites to actually put in all this additional expense to clean up the site as well. So our experience has always been is to try to get as much grant or very, very low cost funding to try to support getting these sites cleaned up.
okay, So the recommendation that the language that we received from the administration was, again, notwithstanding. And so, I think you support removing that notwithstanding and raising the cap to 500. And so I'm wondering, are there projects out there that will need, is there a match from the EPA to you? So is there a match? EPA is 500. The state would, if we go along with that thought, would be 500. So there's $1 million possibility per site. And I think what the administration is saying, don't cap the state dollars so that we could use more to get sites cleaned up. But I think from what I'm hearing you say is that the cap on the 500,000 for state dollars would help more sites.
Oh, so I thought it was one or the other. I would certainly support the notwithstanding language put in there. I'll give you an example. As you know, we've been working on one site in Springfield, the J&L site, and to date we've spent over $3 million for just phase one, and we're going to have to spend probably another $2 million to remove the slab. So that project alone is going to be in the $5 to $6 million range. And so many of these, what we call the BERA projects, there was testimony from Matt Chapman on that earlier this week. All of those projects are well in excess of $1 million. So if we could have the notwithstanding language, I would support that.
Okay, so I know what's our new committee's name now? Environment and Energy is recommending the 500,000, but I think recommending removing the notwithstanding, I think. But
I'm so sorry. I apologize. I just haven't been brought up to speed on all these different bills that are out there, and it just appears to me that the Appropriations Committee is suggesting one thing, and maybe Energy and so on is suggesting a different thing. So I think simply what we would like to do is try to get as much money as we can for some of these larger sites that are going to be very, very difficult to clean up. I mean, the J&L one site has been languishing since the early 90s.
Tom, can I also just, oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I was just, can I also just ask the distinction between, so part of the proposal that we had heard that's coming from Approps is also mentions just changing the language from per parcel to per site. Right. And can you just explain what change that would have?
So I think what they're getting at is there can be multiple sites of contamination on one parcel. So maybe you have multiple buildings on one parcel. And so that's why, I think that's why they're differentiating that.
So it would be slightly less restrictive.
Yeah, that is correct.
But then, so right now in statute, and I could just look this up, but right now in statute, you are limited to 200,000 per parcel. And
for cleanup. For
cleanup. And so in the BAA, we had been suggesting notwithstanding language that removed that cap.
Right.
And the $500,000.
And so that was a suggestion by one member of Appropriations, but Appropriations seemed on board based on just watching their testimony, that instead of the notwithstanding language, we changed the per parcel or per site cap to 500,000.
So it would change $500,000 per site instead of 200,000 per parcel.
Well, instead of the BAA, which is just removing the limits entirely.
Okay.
And so I think we're, just for the committee too, we're somewhat trying to get ahead of, we feel like this proposal has been made to approach. And so we just want to have a comment on it. This wasn't actually in our BAA request, though it's the same language that we did make a recommend on already.
So simply speaking, whatever you can do to provide us with as much flexibility to clean up these sites would be greatly appreciated. And sort of how you make that sausage, I'm going to sort of leave it up to you. But I haven't seen enough of the language from the various committees to get really specific for markup. And like I said, we're also going to be coming back. We need to make some policy changes to the existing brownfield thing. So you're going to see some more brownfield stuff later on in the session as well. Representative Dolan, she has a bill that I think she's going to be releasing either today or tomorrow on brownfields as well.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm not confusing things. I hope this is helpful.
Well, the confusion is the assessment versus cleanup.
Yeah. We had never heard about the distinction between assessment and cleanup, I don't think, and I don't know if
And I don't think you're addressing assessment, and I apologize. I think all you're addressing right now is cleanup.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I just don't. I also don't know if I don't remember that being part of the proposal, but I don't know if it might be.
Yeah, disregard my comment on assessment. I apologize.
So I'm just trying to get this clear in my head. And I know we've been giving you confusing information, so we might be the blind leading the blind, the original proposal was, or it was talked about removing the notwithstanding language, which limited it to $200,000 per was parcel property site. If you just remove that notwithstanding, if you remove that limit, then that means a site like the one in Springfield could take 3 million of that 6 million.
That is correct. But I don't know if Commissioner Goldstein provided you any testimony, but there is a brownfield committee that reviews all cleanup applications, and it's composed of members from DEC, Department of Economic Development, an RDC, and RPC. And generally speaking, we try to do is have some kind of balance so that we don't have all the money going to one site. And so I understand your concern about that. And that is certainly taken into consideration by the group when we're reviewing applications. And I see Commissioner Goldstein's trying to get in now, so she may want to offer some more.
Go ahead, Logan, just a second.
Tom, also, I was just curious, did you testify to environment and energy on this?
We have not. We have not been invited in.
Yeah, no worries, just question.
No.
Because they did just.
Why not? Bring John in.
Hello?
Hi, Joan.
I'm both. Did Chair Marcotte send to you two the testimony from the Chair of Energy and Technology, Representative Sheldon?
Just now?
No, it came in at 6 o'clock this morning. But he didn't share with you?
No, I haven't seen that.
Sorry, I am actually just left a meeting, and so I'm not on video. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
So, yep. I don't know whether I'm late on time or what.
No. Your timing's fine. You just
Okay.
finished speaking with Tom Kennedy, so if you'd like to join us, and your timing's just fine.
Okay.
Hi, Joan.
Hi.
So I think the question is, there's been some discussion in appropriations to raise the cap to 500,000. Wanted to know your thoughts, and I just had a conversation with Chair Sheldon. I think there's been some confusion over, the notwithstanding language and raising the cap. And from what I understand from her is she's fine with leaving the notwithstanding language in, but wants to raise that cap to 500,000 to match EPA, and also to change the grants per parcel to grants per site.
Okay. So, oh wait, I could do video. Hold on just a moment. I'm on my phone, but
There you
okay. So, if I may, for the record, Joan Goldstein, Commissioner, Department of Economic Development. So I think let's separate the issues. The notwithstanding language will help us right here, right now, with the money that we were appropriated last year, the 6 million, to do the large projects. As we discussed, these are really big contaminated properties that even go above and beyond 500,000. So some examples I had sent were these projects that cost over $1 million. And in talking to St. Albans as an example, they estimate it's like $1 million an acre to clean the stuff up. So that was the whole original back in fiscal year 22, in that session of 20. It's 2 years ago, the session of 21. We got the notwithstanding language with that original large appropriation of 25 million. And it afforded us the ability to do those projects. And that was really the impetus behind the entire ask, because otherwise we would just apply for the federal. So that's why we're asking for notwithstanding in the BAA, because so far of the 6 million that we got last year, we could only fund smaller projects. So it goes kind of against what the original impetus is for having general fund flexibility in these projects. The desire to increase the cap to 500,000 in the state sort of enabling brownfield statute, I think is a great instinct and a great idea. It's just that it shouldn't be either or, it should be and, right? So if they want to change the brownfield statute, that's great. It doesn't have to be done during BAA. That could be done whenever. And that's not really our ask right here, right now, because even at 500,000, we would still be in that same boat, not being able to fund these projects that are large. They're messy. They have many contaminants. So that's our plea.
Okay, and then anything, changing the per parcel to per site?
I use those terms interchangeably, so I'm not sure. I'm trying to think what context, where do we have the per parcel language? Sorry, I don't have this off the top of my head. I know that Representative Jolin was asking that yesterday. Where is the discrepancy?
It's in the language of BAA.
Okay.
It's not understood.
It's the notwithstanding part of the language.
Right, and it says per site as opposed to per parcel.
No, it says per parcel instead of per site. So it's not aligning with another place in the statute.
Okay, so I think
In aligning with EPA.
Yeah, I think what happens if you change it to per site. So, for example, you could have a site that's made up of many units, right? Many parcels. So you would be limiting what they could get based on the entirety. So, for example, my understanding on the Fonda site is that there are many different parcels included therein. And so it costs each building that goes on there, there's a cost associated with it, depending on what's going to happen or what's going to be redeveloped. So, yeah, I didn't focus on the differentiation of parcel and site. But I'm just hoping that site doesn't mean that the Fonda site is made up of several parcels, we wouldn't want to limit, the ability for them to clean it all up. And if it's made up of several parcels, allow that cleanup to happen per parcel. But I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me because I would want to just read it through, but I don't understand whether it's what is the claim is that it's in conflict with the original enabling statute?
I'm not totally sure, and
Okay,
it's kind of not our realm.
right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I would, yeah.
Representative Stebbins is here from Environment and Energy, and she's listening in too. So maybe those are some questions. Maybe we,
Yeah.
the chair of the committee to weigh in on, and maybe your committee. But trying to understand this a little bit better and understand the ask of appropriations as well, what they're thinking.
Right.
Yeah. Tom?
So my understanding, and I don't know if it's defined in statute, but I would think that a parcel is composed of a number of sites, whereas a parcel is the collective of sites. So as Joan said, there could be the Fonda property, or we have properties down in our area where there are different sites that are contaminated upon a single parcel.
So we've got we got
Yeah.
two different thoughts going on. So I think we need to understand, and maybe there needs to be a definition of what each one of those means.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That's why I
thinking.
asked whether there was a legal definition already in statute differentiating what a parcel is vis-a-vis what a site is.
Yeah, I'm thinking about land records. Are land records kept through per parcel, I think.
Yes.
If I
Right.
mean, if I'm understanding correctly, though, I feel like, the main ask from you, Joan, and from Tom is that we keep the notwithstanding language in place, which makes that kind of a moot point, because
Yes.
that per parcel, per site language is all part of the language that you're hoping to have notwithstanding.
That is correct.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this whole discussion should be had, not in BAA. I tried to make that point yesterday.
Well,
And-
understood. I understand that point of view 100%. It's just that it would then stymie us from giving the larger awards, right? So
Well, and
we wanna
there's things in the queue already that are waiting for additional dollars to get cleaned up.
indeed.
And
Indeed.
yeah, they could go over that $500,000 mark.
We need to be
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Our
that's why we're not-
experience so far has been, since we've had this general fund money, there have been more applications to the BRELA program, which is the limited liability. So it's feeding the continuum of properties. There are a few, I think Jones and Lamson needs more funding. So, yeah, I think this would stymie us if we don't put the notwithstanding. And we're really mirroring what was done in the fiscal year 22, because in that budget language, we did have the notwithstanding language for the sole purpose of the reason for this ask is to take care of those larger projects instead of just going piece by piece, 200,000.
Gabrielle, do you have any questions or?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So for the record, Gabrielle Stebbins, I serve on the Environment and Energy Committee. We took some testimony on this on Tuesday. As it's a BAA, it does feel a little bit like a flurry. So thank you, everybody. I think some of the question and the concern was to make sure that the funding could actually go potentially to more than one project. And so it sounds to me as though ACCD and others are actually desiring the funding to go to potentially just one project. And I think that was one of the concerns that was raised by representatives was if the language is, first of all, site, then it could cover, if the language is parcel, multiple parcels could make up one site. And then the other concern was if it was, $1 million, it could potentially go to just one project. And that there are potentially, many projects in the state that could use this support and to put some lens on how that decision-making is going in terms of site selection or multiple parcel selection.
Okay.
So I just reply to that a little bit. Just if we look at what we've done in the past with this general fund money, you will see that it's been distributed to 8 different counties and many projects. Like, we are not anticipating that this would go to one project at all. So that's, we have a clear mind. It's not just ACCD. Like, ACCD makes these decisions with DEC and Tom and an RDC representative. So we have a kind of a clue about, what is the project? What are they going to redevelop on top of it? We have our priority set is housing and economic development. So no, we're not going to take 6 million or the remainder, the 5 million, and just plunk it down in one project. We are very focused on geographic distribution, with albeit saying that there is definitely more brownfields in some regions than others. So just to bear that in mind, but geographic distribution is one of our themes and one of our focus points.
Gabby, I was just curious if, who did you guys hear from in Environment and Energy on this?
We did not have the pleasure of hearing from either of these witnesses.
Did you hear from other people that we should hear from them?
We heard from DEC
Sure.
and from Deputy Secretary of A&R.
Both Matt Chapman and I presented to Energy and Environment on Tuesday, right after we presented to House Commerce. Tuesday afternoon.
Okay. I still think sounds like there's still some disconnect, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll, I think offline, try to reconnect again, figure out what's happening. What the thought is on at least this 5 million that, well, it's 6 right now, but would be 5. Okay, any other questions, committee? Gabrielle?
Can I ask a question? Does it help to show what has been done in the past with the GF money? I did send around a PowerPoint. We had collected information about the projects that were funded in the first, the fiscal year 22 money.
That was that 10 million, right? Or 9 million?
Yes, exactly.
And do we have that, or?
Yeah, you do. I sent it after our testimony on Tuesday.
Yeah, okay. Energy, does Environment and Energy have it too?
I'm not sure if they have it. I could easily forward that. This way you get to see a clear picture.
No. Yeah, that'd be great.
Chair?
All right, we'll get that to you.
Sorry, if it helps any, I think all the parties who've been discussing this, as long as it's really clear and we have this conversation that it's meant to be, shared amongst multiple projects. And this is the BAA. We do have the actual budget to dig into this further. I think everyone could feel comfortable with it.
Okay, that'd be real helpful, I think. I think our worry in here is that we have projects that are in the queue now, and we want to make sure they get completed, as I'm sure that your committee does too. And I understand geographical dispersion of the funds, and I think that's happening. It may not be equally, in equal amounts of dollars, but I think, as Commissioner Goldstein said, there's areas of the state that really need a concentrated effort, which I would agree with. And so maybe we'll have further discussions, and maybe then we'll have to loop in appropriations as well.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think this has been helpful.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the. Thank you.
Thanks, Joan. Thanks,
All
Tom.
right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so we'll, I think we'll chat maybe later this afternoon. You can ask Amy if maybe we can sit down and just go over it, make sure we're all on the same page, and then maybe put a joint paper together to send appropriations so that it's clear what the policy committees are looking for. And I don't think it's been clear.
I don't think so either. And I think also clarifying the definition would be helpful.
Yeah, and that might be something that may need to be done, outside of BAA.
Yes.
Just using the same language, they've been able to work things out up till now. So, but to make it clearer, I think that's something, your committee can certainly work on. And
Chair, would it be helpful if we modified the letter in the interim so that we had something to review together?
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll stop by. Do you know how long you're going out for today?
Our last witness is at 2, but I can, these are 2 sentences. We could modify the letter.
Yeah,
pretty
okay.
quickly.
Have a chat with
The
Chair
Okay.
and then maybe we can get together after and we can put a joint, put both our stamps on the letter to appropriations saying, we reviewed this together and this is where we want to go right now. And looking at this outside of BAA is the preferred way of going, I think. Okay, good.
One clarifying question. This is the only section you took testimony on, the 500,000 or and the site parcel?
Well, we took testimony on the 5 to 10% too,
Okay,
but we're recommending, I think what you did, 10%.
okay.
So I think
I just wasn't here, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we're all on the same page, I think, now, and we can get that to appropriations. That was one thing that was outstanding in our letter, was trying to get onto the same page. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. It's nice to come somewhere else. Sorry.
Okay, I think it's lunchtime. I've got a Zoom, I've got to be on at noon. And so we're back at 1. Meek and Stephanie will be out. So I think in that meeting, try to get a feel for when you might have language that you can look at.
Okay.
So we can reserve some time. I'm thinking 10:45, we're gonna look at H87. By that point, we want to see if we can wrap that bill up. It's not a big bill, unless something comes forward on testimony we take on Tuesday where we need to delve into it deeper, but I think it's pretty straightforward, but I shouldn't say that. I'm not saying it's an easy bill, but I think that, there's about 45 minutes there to figure out whether we go to lunch at 11:30 on Wednesday or go to lunch after BAA. So if we can get, whatever you come up with, I think we can, if it's available to look at it, 10:45, we'll do that.